5-minute clip I put on our social.
Live streaming is on.
Yes, so welcome again, everyone. Like I just said, I made the mistake again to not go live right away because we had a good conversation. And we usually start these off 10 minutes early for everyone who might be watching and just go over everything, just say hello real quick and ask if anyone wants to talk about something before we go live. And we had a question, which ended up being, I think, good content, lost forever. So sorry about that. No, I'm kidding. I took notes. I always take notes. If that's good or not, I also don't know. I'm waiting for Martin's tool. And as a matter of fact, Martin's update is the first one on my browser list here. So we're gonna go with him, see where he started. Unless you guys wanted to say anything else before. Take it right off. Cool.
Hello, co-starting. So, Flowtelic update. I released some new features around the workflow of notes and workflow states. That is visible here. I can now say what note types I want to use, and the workflow state for different types, and the new navigation to mimic the Zettelkasten workflow. So that's the app update. In terms of other activities, I set out the goal of launching this video here, Introduction to Smart Notes with the Zettelkasten and with Obsidian and the Zettelkasten method. That went live on Friday. It has over 300 views at the moment, which is really cool. And in terms of subscribers, I set a target of 400 subscribers after 7 days, I believe. And I've already exceeded 400. Well, I'm at 402, which is really cool. And the only final thing is the mailing list subscriptions. So 60 was my target. I'm at 75, so that's working out really well. So it's nice to see some progress there. So basically, over the next week, there'll be a new video to test how that performs in terms of content, trying to build recognition in the audience of note-taking and Zettelkasten and all of that. And feature-wise, I'm now looking at the workflow prompts to get you into deep work to process your notes. And that's an update from Flowtelic.
Okay, so we just had, I noticed it in the beginning too, that the audio was a little bit lower. I hope that's still okay, because I thought it was just on my side, so I turned up my volume. But then I realized there is a slider on if I share a YouTube video in this Jitsi meeting. Again, I made a mistake last time. I will make a mistake next time. So
all right, someone else go first next time.
Yeah. So thanks for the update. Any questions from everyone or anything you want to add to it, Martin?
Just basically my goal is to discover what this organic process is for attracting the audience to what I'm building. YouTube seems to be working. So I can be quite niche in this whole Zettelkasten note-taking and sort of sneak other content out from there. I've been really pleased with the results. I've no idea if it's going to hold. I don't know if it's a one-hit wonder and the algorithm's going to say, there you go, you've had your lot. It's a good experiment. I've put a video live today, which is going to be really interesting to see how that performs, which is doing a whole study session on the ketogenic diet using the app, really putting it through its paces and seeing whether that content resonates and trying to access people who are going through a self-discovery learning journey, finding maybe the more niche content, so the ketogenic diet, discovering the note-taking and realizing that actually with a tool they can improve their knowledge management so that they don't read things and it's like a sieve and they don't get it to put it into practice. So I'm quite enjoying the process. That's so far so good.
Martin, what will be helpful to get from the group?
So in terms of the product, I'm fairly okay with where I want to take that. Where the value from the group is getting sort of perspective from the audience building side. So the goal is to basically lean into finding my people in this area and making sure that I'm not missing a step, not making like obvious mistakes, getting input, feedback, really just perspective. And because that when the app does become something that gets monetized, the idea is that audience should be ready to help get the initial lift and get some buzz and really just grow organically from there, rather than going for a big bang launch and celebrations and off to the Bahamas. It's actually just going to be a very steady growth kind of business, and hopefully organic as well. So it's more evergreen and cost effective, if that makes sense.
Just rewinding 30 seconds on that. Do you have a question? I mean, first of all, I think your progress is amazing. I'm loving what you're doing. I'm learning a lot from the way that you're using YouTube for this. So there's certainly a lot that I'm just downloading, but sort of in return for that, do you think sort of in there's a question or something that you're sort of not quite that certain about, or something that we can be helping with in terms of getting a little bit of external perspective in these 5 minutes?
My blind spot is probably because I don't know that question at the moment.
Okay.
So listening to how the conversations go with yourselves, just what you pick up on is really valuable. To not know what I want to answer, what help I want, could be a blind spot that I don't recognize. And if I have that blind spot, I can't answer that question. So, yeah.
That's a fair point.
Although LinkedIn, if anybody's got any tips on LinkedIn and how to utilize that, I have no clue. So maybe that's an area that I could think about.
Martin,
Have you already used Phantom Buster?
I've never heard of Phantom Buster.
Yeah, Phantom Buster is it's a browser automation tool that allows you to automate particularly LinkedIn, which otherwise doesn't have much of an API for some of the more scalable stuff.
Okay.
All right,
I think probably where my question with LinkedIn probably is like, what are the opportunities? What is the sort of acceptable approach to be authentic, not marketing. I tried that on Twitter, and I've had way more success on Twitter just being authentic, joining the conversation, and doing the whole building in public. And that feels right for me. But I don't know what the rules are for LinkedIn.
I mean, it sounds like you're doing pretty well with Twitter and YouTube. I don't know if you need to add another channel.
I probably don't. I probably need to just focus. Yeah. Otherwise, you spread yourself thin. Yeah.
I wanted to ask about the keto video, which I'll check out. But is that the first time tying yourself to this category that has nothing to do with the note-taking world?
So my YouTube channel probably predates. I've taken lots of videos off, but in terms of the new content, normally I'd stick to sort of startups content. The note-taking is fairly new with the whole product, coming about, and this is the first sort of visible part of the things that interest me as a. There's a word, autodidact, someone who loves self-learning. This is where the whole journey starts. And the ketogenic and following that train of threads is like, it's a weird thing. I may actually sneak in my own passions for other things into this marketing strategy. That'd be really awesome because I can just double benefit from that.
And that way you're authentic as well, which goes back to what you're benefiting from Twitter anyway. So
yeah. It's an hour long though, so I don't know if people actually. It'll be interesting to just see how it performs, if it's useful. But it's certainly from someone going on the Zettelkasten journey, looking for practical examples. It shows that it's a real deep dive walkthrough of how it works. Whether someone from a ketogenic perspective would be interested, I'm not sure.
Well, and that's kind of what I was getting at. Like, if somebody's on that self-discovery and ketogenic world, but they don't know about the other stuff that you're doing, that's a good way for them to discover it. And I'm sure there's lots of people who, don't know Zettelkasten,
Absolutely. Like I can reflect on this from 2-3 years ago when I discovered these things through books and all of that, but I didn't have the tools to utilize it. So hopefully this is of value for people who are at that point in the journey where they're accessing all this knowledge, but they don't know how to organize it, and they don't have the tool or know how to use the tools to organize it. And that's what I'm trying to solve, basically.
Yeah,
Did
I
you
just like that it's outside of the startup world.
Did you actually post it on LinkedIn? Because especially when you mention knowledge management, I imagine that is very attractive. LinkedIn is very business oriented, and knowledge management is definitely something that is interesting. If you're in business, you have so much information all the time and so many different tasks, so many different topics. So if I think that it can still be absolutely authentic if you share it there. Did you try it?
I haven't really touched LinkedIn. I just haven't had the time, to be truthful. But what I want to do is know a strategy that's low friction. Like these videos I'm producing, I literally just record them. I don't edit them. I used to edit. I did a daily vlog for 130 days on my YouTube like 4 years ago. That was intense, but I never really found the groove that I feel now, which is really interesting. So, but making sure that's real low effort but high quality is the right sweet spot that I'm trying to go for.
Hey Martin, just first of all, congratulations on the very quick traction and picking up a lot of the audience attention. I don't want to offer just a quick solution necessarily, but what I've at least seen work well for me, my experience, is just repurposing some content. So for your own example, you're making amazing content through YouTube. Cutting that to quick 30 second, 40 second, less than that little snippets, and just repurposing that onto LinkedIn. That checks off the box, certainly for low friction. And I would like to think high quality. If you're comfortable putting it on your YouTube, I'd go out on a limb and say you're comfortable putting that same content right back onto LinkedIn. So I feel like it would check both those boxes. Maybe take that into consideration. Quick, just
I have tried that with a few other things in the past. Put some nice emotive music to it and all of that. If I can streamline it, that'd be really absolutely. But it's the snowball effect. Like if you put a lot of effort in for one thing and expect results, it doesn't really happen. It's the cumulative effect over time. So you have to stick past the grind, get past that, and hopefully see something happening. But I'm in a good place at the moment, and so it's really good hearing the feedback. And where what I'll do is I'll think about these ideas and look at how to streamline that process, because I don't want to do a one-time experiment because I don't think I'll get the results. It has to be like over a consistency. Like there's one thing out of this journey that has nagged me for the last many years is I'm not consistent. And this is the first time I've been consistent, and I can see some results for that. So like if there's any advice, just do something, but do it consistently in small increments. Like that seems to be the right. I mean, obviously you need to pivot if it's the wrong thing consistently, but doing something consistently is good.
Yeah, Martin, I totally agree. Oh, sorry, Ray. I think we need to move on to the next project. If we have more time in the end, happy to. I'm gonna need to find like a little timer or something so you guys know where we are at for the next one. But yes, one thing every day. Love that. That's why we tweet every day. Thanks for the pitch there for why we do things. All right, next project we're gonna check in on is Endeavor from Connor.
Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. This is Connor, the founder and CEO of Endeavor. Super excited to give you our 1 week update, part of co-starting program. So in the last week, what we were focused on was completing some of the wireframes for our next set of features. And if I jump over to Figma here, you can actually see some of our wireframes here. So we're going to be redesigning what the interface looks like just a little bit for the opportunity dashboard, for the analytics. And the cool news is actually we were able to get just about all the wireframes done, and we're now moving on to a lot of the high fidelity versions for some of this functionality. I'll even give you a sneak peek at what our main feed is going to look like. Also, we're almost done deploying onto our server. That was a big focus of last week, getting deployed onto our server. I'd say it's like 95% there, almost 100%, honestly. The reason that we can see it now is I added the IP addresses into my host files in my terminal for my computer, which is super cool. That's something I actually learned this week, how to edit host files in my terminal. So very cool. Hyperlinking. So we worked on like a lot of the hyperlinking, making sure all the buttons navigate to the right pages, all the respective links are in the right spots. So that is all done. So once we do go live, it's like, we can send people to the site and it'll navigate them to the right areas. Site content. So the only thing left over for updating site content is actually just updating these screen displays. And the reason that we haven't updated these yet is because I'm going to go start adding some opportunity listings, courses, certifications, stuff like that onto the dashboard. So once we go live next week, we can focus on pushing signups with the professional users. And by scraping some listings into the platform before we go live, it'll guarantee a presence of some listings, hopefully guaranteeing some sort of activity once we launch. So that's about it. So going forward, we're focused on, getting our first, maybe 10 to 20 users once we go live in the next week or so, and continuing to work on the high fidelity versions of our next features. So thank you for watching, and I look forward to week 2.
All right, so last week we had, I don't remember what it was, 5 minutes or so. This week he just talked twice as fast and packed the same content into 2 minutes. I love it.
Basically,
anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think the only thing to add is, we're officially deployed. We're live. We went live today. I don't know if anybody, I was on a previous call right before this, and that person had looked up Join Endeavor in the past days, and so it was still displaying some sort of error, so we had her clear her cache and cookies, and then it was able to populate joinendeavor.com. So if any of you have that problem, just clear your cache and cookies and history, and it'll display it. But yeah, we're live. I'm excited. We got our first couple users already on it, just out of quick conversation of saying, hey, we're live, not actually pushing it. And like I said in the video, tomorrow I'm dedicated to adding over 100, 120, as much time as I can add into their listings into the platform, a variety of courses, certifications, so on and so forth. So when I start pushing it live over the weekend, or pushing into public over the weekend and next week, we'll hopefully see some activity right out of the gate. So I encourage you all to now, when you get the chance, go ahead and start creating accounts and let me know if you find anything I can iterate on.
Yeah, I'm on it right now. Looks good, man.
Thank you.
So you're starting with, you scraped a big list of different education platforms, and you're going to put that on there on Endeavor.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Next week you'll see, when you register and then log in as a professional user, you'll then see on the dashboard courses, certifications, boot camps. You'll even see a hackathon with that. We're coincidentally the one hosting it. Everything. We'll probably even I'll even have some employment opportunities in there too, knowing that we still have that element of employment on the platform. So I'll still have some of those for sure. And yeah, you'll see the programs from Udacity, Udemy, Codecademy, Springboard, and some smaller businesses, Learn Robotics. I'm here in the community here in Southwest Florida.
So,
Hey,
any feedback or critique from the get-go right now? Yeah.
I mean, I'll definitely check it out and then give you more feedback when I checked it out. And for now, what is your next step? What is your next challenges that we can maybe get some input on, or
yeah, we'll
do?
Next step, I would say the immediate next step is to play with it, play with it and let me know if anything does screw up, if there's any, any bugs, anything like that you come across, so I can jump on that right away. And then the immediate follow-up to that, especially if you find nothing wrong and you're like, I got in good, all that's missing now is the listings that I'll be adding tomorrow. If all those boxes are checked, then start sending it out to your friends, your colleagues. Just to reiterate, our target user on the professional side is a non-technical recent grad, or even a non-technical career changer, somebody who's maybe now moving into something tech related. Doesn't have to be an engineer or even a programmer. It could be just a designer. And then on the organization side of things, the closest I think of relevancy would be if you have any colleagues that are small business owners who offer some sort of e-learning, then that would be ideal. Maybe have them sign up as an organization, But again, the focus, I think I mentioned in the video, focus is on virality on the professional user side of things. I can certainly take care of having a presence of listings, and then hopefully, like Martin was expressing, hopefully we can start getting some organic traction on the organization side.
You mentioned a hackathon is sort of in passing. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, so that's actually, so I don't think I mentioned that in the Slack group or in the first call. No, so one of my business partner and I, and actually one of our investors in Endeavor, we're hosting a hackathon April 24th. It's a Saturday at Millennial Brewing, so it's down here. We are going to have a limited amount of virtual participants. We also are considering live streaming it and not doing a Zoom room and just having it being live streamed. Still capping the virtual participants because we are really pushing for in-person. But yeah, Saturday, April 24th, Millennial Brewing. And when I say hackathon, just like we were in our discussion before of overused terminology, hackathon is one of those terms. And so it is not just a day of only programmers and only coding. It is open to biz dev, open to designers. And so whether the final deliverable be a small snippet that they put together in GitHub, or it be a few page slide deck of a new business concept or a tool, we are giving them a prompt. So there are parameters of what we're working on. There is a theme, and the theme is a workforce development in technology. And we are, as one of the organizers, are treating it as a beta, and we're leveraging Endeavor as like the use case, if you the case study, if you would, which we're then drafting the prompt parameters around us and around what we're truthfully solving. And so, yeah, again, open to designers, biz dev, and programmers. And so final deliverables could range from, a presentation, a pitch of a business concept, a new tool, or a small snippet of new code.
Is that something you do a lot of? Hackathons, or is it your first one ever? Or?
This is our first one ever. Myself and the two other event organizers. We're kind of hacking a hackathon together ourselves, but we've really made a lot of progress, and we've got a lot of support on it so far. Yeah,
this just seems like an awesome play for marketing Endeavor. Not the brewery one, but like having Endeavor be a center point for hackathon type things, like bring people together who lack confidence about their skills to collaborate.
Exactly. Yep. The event target audience is exactly our target user, it checks a lot of boxes, that allows us to kind of treat this as a bit of a beta experience. I mean, I get to put myself in the shoes of almost our customer, that be the organizer of the event, aka the organization providing the e-learning opportunity, providing the educational opportunity, if it be an event or a course. So it's a very cool experience, and I think we're definitely I'm already getting a lot of value out of it, going through it now, through the process now. I have tons of experience with event management and hosting events of pretty large size, but yeah, my first time at the hackathon, the day of, despite unfortunately I will not be there for family reasons, will not be there in person. I do know that whether it be the final deliverables or just having 70, 60, 50 people in one room, and being able to kind of get their feedback, do some user interviews, and have them even play with the platform while we're there, get some good feedback. So a lot of value coming from it.
Do you have someone on hand to record for marketing?
Oh yeah, it's a good call for sure. Yeah, we have somebody dedicated to that. Yep.
Yeah, and if you can catch people to tell their story, their journey.
Yeah, that's good.
What you want to do, because your audience is someone who has some kind of inflection point in their lives where they want to transform their career, they're turning to tech, they're looking for guidance. You want to portray that there's people like who your customers are in the real world, who are turning to tech, and you're the guide to help them through that journey.
Yeah,
I love that.
The ones who already made the decision, right? Like, and why, and those personas you highlight, and hopefully people out there can identify with them.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
I love it.
Awesome.
Wait,
great.
One final thing I'll say. 2 seconds. Final thing is, now that we're live, that was one of our main goals for this co-starting program, and so really the other main goal is get our first 100 users, 100 professional users. And so I will definitely hope to turn to you all for some support with that over the next couple weeks. That'd be much appreciated.
Yeah, I'll for sure sign up as an organization, because I think we had that comment last week already that we should be looking at how we can work together between Co-Starting and Endeavor.
Yep.
And I am very, very curious to see how it's gonna work out over the next 3 weeks, because you did set an ambitious goal for 100 people, but you also, you probably have a network already you can tap into a little bit. So it's gonna be very fun to watch your KPIs over the next couple of weeks. Great. Okay, phone to email. Let's see what Ray was up to this week.
It's been a pretty good first week for phone to email in the Cohort 3 project. The goal was to get 15-minute interviews with people who are involved in doing deep work to better understand how they do it, so we can figure out how our product might be able to serve them well. The goal for this first week was to reach out to the first customer community, basically defeat my lizard brain to actually reach out and make some asks. The first ask I did was actually over at MicroConf in the feedback request channel, which has about 100 people in it. And within 8 hours of that post, had somebody say, yeah, sure, let's talk. And they scheduled up using my Calendly link, which was really great. Based on the high from that acceptance, I also posted to 2 other Slack communities, including Virtual Coffee, which is a technical community, as well as Co-Starting, which is this community, and got multiple acceptances of these for these interviews, which is just fantastic. I've actually held 4 of those interviews so far. 7 of them total have been scheduled based on 3 different posts among these communities, and I've also done a 4th version of the post for Twitter, although the Twitter post hasn't produced anything for me just yet. Things I have learned in the course of having conversations both on the line as well as the back and forth going on in Slack include that deep work might be limiting my reach in terms of how I communicate this. Although there might be strategic advantages to that later. The Slack tends to respond relatively quickly, so I should expect that if I put up a post, it's going to be useful, and then it's not going to be useful anymore, and I need to consider how I might do a repeat. And the third is that people who responded tend to be people who have communicated with me before in some context on that community, i.e. giving seems to lead to getting. Next week, my plan right now is to talk to friendly individuals and ask them to be references to see if their contacts would be willing to communicate with me. I've had a few people volunteer to do that so far, which is fantastic. And we'll see whether those lead to interviews 1 level removed. For the group, I'd like to understand, maybe should I be changing my language based on deep work insight? Do you think there are other forums or communities I should be reaching out to, given that forum posting seems to have been pretty profitable thus in this first week? And then finally, if you have thoughts on this, how I can do interviews better. I haven't talked about that so much so far. I don't have a lot of the data yet, but I want to really maximize the value of customer discovery in these interviews. And if you have thoughts on best practices, I'd be most grateful.
So Ray, I want to say this. I love how you just did this. First of all, I love the little attention to detail, graying out the last week and what you're highlighting on the slide. Goes a long way. Love it. And I also like that you already asked the others, right? Like, do you have questions for the group? I think every one of you should or could. You don't have to, but you could think about doing this, right? Like, think about your week and then how you want to come in next week and really have like a concrete ask for the group. Could stay the same, of course, but with that, I open it up for the group.
Yeah, I'm making a note to learn from that video, so mine will be better next week. But also, from past experience doing customer interviews, maybe you already do this, but I avoid yes or no questions, and I ask open-ended questions. And sort of, why 3 times. I dig in deeper and really just try to let them talk, and then just take notes and look at it later, because you never know. People's minds are much different sometimes. If I can, I avoid to even say what I'm working on before I interview them. Right? That's really the ideal. Maybe that doesn't work for some of the communities you're already in, but That would be the best. Don't say this is what I'm doing and then interview. Do that at the end, and then they'll be like, oh, that's great, but they were totally wrong, or maybe that's exactly what they talked about without even knowing.
Well, just quickly, how long do you usually schedule for a customer discovery interview like that when you're doing them?
Yeah, 15 minutes is, especially if it's somebody that I don't know. If it's somebody, talking to people that I do know, I can, you can ask for more time because they're already a friend. But yeah, discovery for 15 minutes sounds like that's what I've done.
Great.
Yeah, we actually did a customer discovery interview together, and I thought it was actually pretty good because it was very short. I think it was also only 15 minutes or so. Yeah, I mean, when I do customer discovery interviews with people, I also do it actually quite similar. Also, there's this mom test book. I don't know if you heard of it, the mom test. Yeah, exactly, to make sure that you get answers that are actually helpful. And there's one strategy that I discovered recently as well, that I'm trying to utilize, which is when you're making a hypothesis of also what your concrete problem is, your potential solution, that you go on forums like Quora or so and ask a question about this specific problem, assuming that you have it, to also find out how would these people solve it for you. And I tried it a couple of times and I actually got very useful responses to see how people deal with the problem at the moment. And also then when they discuss, what are the pros and cons, and then maybe someone disagrees, and then actually that's really quite helpful. So I can recommend trying that.
Thank you. You said you'd use Quora. Are there other sites you found that are sort of seem really helpful for triggering that kind of debate?
Yeah, subreddits were actually the most helpful.
Ray, are you in Y Combinator Startup School or the Hacker News?
I occasionally look at Hacker News. I haven't done Startup School yet.
Okay, because I think you can very easily just get registered, and yeah, they have a forum that is even categorized that you can post directly to, and one of those categories is help me with beta feedback, like help me with customer discovery type stuff like that. So I'd recommend that. We got some good activity in that as well, with our pivot. And then again, to also just to back up what Elliot supported, the 15 minutes, 15-20 minutes I think is pretty spot on, and especially if they're talking most of the time, then for sure. But if you're the one talking most of the time, then definitely some adjustments need to be made there. I agree with what Elliot was saying. Avoid the yes or no questions, open ended. So yeah.
The other thing that comes to mind, I've not really done any customer discovery interviews, so. But what would come to mind is you want to listen to the language they use, the terminology they use, their mental model around the problem. Because when you're selling it, you're not going to be there to hold their hand. They have to discover it on their own, and doing it in their language is probably, if you can find that. One thing that comes to mind, phone to email, but you talk about deep work, and the question I have is, should you flip it? Should you be a deep work business where phone to email is simply a tool to achieve your larger goal? I guess the question is deep work, which is more important to you, the deep work aspect, or is that a means to an end, or is that more important? Like, are they your people who you're targeting?
That is a valid point. And an open question.
Yeah, I've full disclosure. I've just read a book called 12 Months to $1 Million or something like that. It's more of a product-based book, but one of the things it talks about, don't sell a product, sell a business or build a business. And if you sell the product on its own, it's really hard to then expand that. You're sort of pigeonholed. You can't launch your second product. This is more of a physical product. And it just makes me think that, maybe your mission may be more than just phone to email. It could be more holistically around the deep work side of things. If that is indeed, where you want to take it, may not be, but.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I think you're right on this. However, what we see, like in this kind of realm, and where I'm kind of see myself fitting in, helping you all, and where a lot of the people have come from to these cohorts so far, is that I think you are the brand, and the products you are pumping out are just, something you do, and people buy them because they trust you, right? Like I think, I'm sure, Martin, you see this a lot in your building in public experience on Twitter. Like the people building weird products left and right, they have nothing to do with one another, right? And it's a throw until something sticks, right? But that could be the alternative, right? I think so. I don't know, Ray, where you see yourself more on the, okay, this is my audience, right? And I think we talked about this before. I always call it the DAP triangle, right? Domain, audience, and problem. Lock two in, the ones which are more important to you, and then figure out the other one.
I'd just like to add, actually, what I've found during my journey is that I've given myself permission to not be pigeonholed into a product, but to follow a path to a thing. And for me, is sort of knowledge and knowledge management. And it's actually going to be way more as the years go on. It kind of makes it more fun as well, because you can be authentic, you can be yourself, and that alignment of who you are and what you're building. I've been experiencing that in the product I'm building. I've tried doing e-commerce things over the years. It's really hard. B2B is quite hard because it's not an individual's journey, an individual's like passion. It's very commercial. So if you have an opportunity to do it, you might find it a lot more fun. Whether it works or not, I can't tell you. I'll tell you in a few years.
Yeah, I agree. Like it's always more comfortable if you like the domain you're working in, right? That's basically the gist of it. Okie doke. Catherine, Harmony CB.
Hi, co-starting cohort. Here's Catherine from Harmony CB. Quick update. We have basically achieved our goals for last week. We have the template system working, which was the last big thing that might have that we needed for releasing the beta next week. And we also finished the template.
Hi,
and fixed some minor bugs.
Here's Catherine
For next
from
week,
Harmony
our
CB.
goal is to release the private beta to target users, and also to set some appointments with 3 specific users so we can actually see them build something. The whole goal of the beta is to find out if people can build applications. So we actually want to use the opportunity to watch people build something and learn as much as possible about where they might be stuck. In general, we have achieved our goals development-wise, template component implemented, and cleanup of some other target components. With communication, we found that we were a little bit unfocused because, just posting something for engagement or so is nice, but I feel we need to reevaluate who we want to target specifically with social media and marketing content, and that they are engaging with it. So if you have any suggestions of how you made your marketing strategy or social media strategy, that would be really interesting to hear about. Thank you. I feel like that's actually what this session is about. A lot of marketing and communication. So perfect timing. Since I made the video yesterday, I actually realized, because with the beta we are targeting very small companies that want to build customer portals, and we have about 90 people who are signed up who want to try it. And obviously we're going through this, we decided we want to do this, but we now also consider the path whether it might be more interesting to go for bigger companies, because we actually get approached by bigger companies who want to use our tool, because it just makes software development much faster. We build a whole feature for a company in 2 days with it, instead of, I would guess, otherwise 2 months or so. but it's a very different path. So actually, I think one thing that I want to do is to go back to the advice I just given before, which is actually do more customer discovery again, and also to see if we should decide to approach bigger companies, then I want to now get to know them better and see via forums, via direct communication and interviews, what their problems are, what their also general mood is like. I mean, I think, as you said, Martin, it's a little bit different with individuals than it is with companies. Individuals are more about their mood, and companies have different topics going on. There's a dynamic of several people. But I feel like there's still typically some patterns as to where they are right now, what prompted that they need to develop something new. So maybe I can find that. Yeah, so I think concrete question. One thing that would definitely be helpful for me is if next week, if you want to try the tool, if you see if you can use it, if you can build something in it already. And apart from that, actually, it's really helpful to me just to hear what your strategies are to approach your customers and how you're doing it. Actually, that's the most helpful thing.
You have, I think there are, so you have a 2x2 matrix of questions you might be wanting to ask about your customer and the domain you're attacking. One domain is you are building tools that allow people to create services that other people can use, right? So which of those is your customer? And is it possible that you're confusing your customer with your channel, right? So it could be that your real customer are people who are going to be consuming and utilizing the tools, or it could be the people who create those sites, etc., that might be using your tool set. And understanding which of those two sets has the outstanding problem and where the real value is being captured, I think is something that you want to probably get your arms around. I don't know, but I suspect that right now you're talking more to people who use your software directly than you are talking to the people who then consume the end result, possibly because it's just proof of concept or what have you. But you might want to be looking into like who's down that road, because one of the most effective sales strategies you can have is to have a bunch of people who are at that 2 steps removed, who then say who and there's demand there, right? And then you could be going to people who are only 1 step removed and be saying, hey, these people are thirsty for products that this thing can solve if you just go use them, right? So you're a hammer salesman, you're talking to carpenters, but you're talking to a bunch of people who want homes, right? And then you can be saying, these people really need homes and need homes that would be better built with my hammers, and I can point you towards the customers, and now that's the way that you get to sell your hammers. Does that make sense? Perhaps an overwrought metaphor?
No, it absolutely makes sense. I did a lot of customer interviews with all different company sizes, and I think that there's one struggle that I have, especially with bigger companies, because you have the people who make the decision, then you have the people who use the tool and build something that is custom in it, and then you ultimately have the user, because our solution is not, it's not like saying, here, build an email form. It's not always the same. It's actually there to make custom things. So it's which is also a challenge, right? Because you can't say the end user is always going to be a bit different, right? Because it is custom. And I found the people who are most interested in the decision makers are definitely people who are either owners of a company or they are some top level managers, depending on size, who just realize that they need software development and they need to progress fast, and anything that can help them do that at a tenth of the cost, at a tenth of the time, is good. I think for us, one thing we're still missing a bit is the people who would have to build in it as well, to talk with them. So that is a really good point.
So just to be the maybe devil advocate on this, why isn't the people who build it you? Right? Why is this not a tool set that is giving your agency competitive advantage that allows you to then say to the customer saying, well, we need X and we need Y and we need Z. but because you have this proprietary tool set, you are in a position to solve that problem for them, and it can be done for you. You get to capture more of that value because you get to price it as between the cookie cutter and the completely bespoke that you'd otherwise do, even though you've driven the cost from your point of view to look more like the cookie cutter and the bespoke. If you're like only 1/3 of the way up, that may be something that looks like an awesome deal for them and is tremendous value capture for you, and is proving out the value of the tool set such that phase 2 of the business becomes selling the tool without the done for you aspect sitting on top.
Yeah, I mean, we can already do that, and we have already proven that we can do that also in pilots, and people are willing to pay us for it as well. I think the overall vision for us is also to make software development much more accessible to people, and or using software.
Uh-oh.
Do we lose you?
Also, I think it is much. We're an agency again, and yeah, so for multiple reasons, I feel like for us the long-term goal is definitely that people can use it themselves. Whether short-term or so, there are solutions where we do things. Yeah, probably for sure, because do things that don't figure out what works and what doesn't. But long-term, our goal is definitely that people can use it themselves.
Just to jump in there, it feels like, I could be wrong, but it feels like there's a bit of a conflict going enterprise versus small business, because enterprise, to put this bluntly, the passion for empowering people to be able to build things themselves is probably not there when someone else is making the decisions, unless the whole company happens to have that philosophy, but you probably won't find that. If it's a means to an end, then it makes sense. And what Ray's saying, you can get your leverage in the enterprise space and your name known in the enterprise space, potentially being the consultant who actually implements the solution, if those organizations want the solutions. There's no reason why you couldn't then partner with others to be that distributed sales force, implementator, agency model, all of that.
Yeah.
But if it's a means to an end to get to your why, which is to empower, software development to make it accessible, maybe that will sit better. But obviously, don't pretend to be all corporate and not align with your mission. Be honest with your mission. And in terms of selling into enterprise, I'll just add, you do have different people to sell to now. My only advice is, if you can make someone's life easier and make them look good to their boss, if that is your value proposition and you can help them sell it internally, then, and make the boss's boss look good, that may help push the conversation to the next level.
Yeah, I would have seconded that, right? Like, I think selling into companies, obviously in startups, that's always easier, right? Like, if I always, in lower hierarchies at least, I'm going to make the decision as the coder. If I'm like one of 4 coders, what tools I want to use. And I tell my CEO, it's like, hey, if I use this tool, I'm going to be twice as fast, right? And he's going to be like, oh, it's $50 a month. Okay, sure, why not? And I think a lot of there you can look at, in my opinion, ClickUp is doing a great job, right? One of their big slogans is, we save you, don't know how many hours a month guaranteed, right? Like these little things, that's like deep into marketing strategy then, like very quickly, but I think that's interesting. And then, yeah, I agree also, like just agencies, other agencies, right? Your enterprise license is probably agencies would make a lot of sense. Small development shops, right? When I had my own development shop, I used Firebase. Like, I used anything which gave me an edge to get things developed faster, because my customers didn't care where the website came from or the app came from, as long as it worked, right? They were small kind of things.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll add too, Catherine, is don't be discouraged to do the implementation yourself. Do things that don't scale. The Stripe founders, when they first launched Stripe, they would their sales cycle, according to YC, they had the shortest sales cycle. I don't know if you know the story. Shortest sales cycle ever. You know the story? Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
they asked the founders if they want to integrate Stripe. They say, yeah, okay, give me your laptop, and they jump in their laptop, integrate right there for them within 10 minutes. So yeah,
Absolutely.
Just one other thing to throw in there: enterprise. Look at why big software, big ticket solutions cause problems. And it could be, what do you do when you need a quick turnaround, a change turnaround, you need sign off, Your solution empowers the people to rapidly make changes without having to go through, contracts to change budgets and all of that.
Yeah, thanks so much for all the feedback. Very helpful.
Alrighty, so now we're shifting gears just a little bit and see how we get all of these CEOs and CTOs and COOs out to the farms for a nice dinner.
Hello, co-starting team. Quick update. Thanks, Sven, for the reminder. Here we're just looking at my Google Drive that I started to get organized, to get some ideas down. You'll see some brainstorming and notes, which I'll jump into, an event budget, and a farm dinner research form, which I created. I was going to get people to fill it out when I went to the farmers market, but right now in New York City, it is some elections are coming up, so there were lots of politicians out, and I didn't feel great about adding to that. The hassle of going up to people when there were already, 15, 20 people going and asking people to sign petitions. So unfortunately, I didn't really use the survey, but I got a couple. I did still talk to some people. And I made a QR code that takes people to the survey and a link so that hopefully one day I will get it up, so make it easy for people to fill out, get some feedback. I did talk to a couple farms and people who know farms that either do or would be up for hosting events. So that's like a pretty big start. I was pretty excited about. Already talking to some people about what that could look like to, run an event and have people from New York City join them out there. Let's see what other notes here. Yeah, I talked to some people. I don't really like this data because it was just like, what do you think? Does that sound fun? And people said, sure, that sounds fun. But hopefully this survey will maybe not give me that much more info, but I'll at least have either people's emails or phone numbers of possible interest, because right now this number means nothing, but if I have their emails, that would mean something. Some notes that I got, but I'm just going to jump down. Ray mentioned, the hustle for New York City marketplaces or farms, and so that's something I've been thinking about and am starting to do research on to figure out if I should, if I want to be an event company or a platform for finding farms that do events, or can I be some sort of hub for information about New York City farm innovation. So I have a couple links here. I'm talking to somebody from Farming NYC, and we don't have a date scheduled yet, but that should be great because they do. They have members that are doing what I'd focus on. So I did not. I did choose a topic. I did not make my business model canvas because I honestly forgot to check, what I said I would do and hold myself accountable. But I did sort of connect some interviews. But I'm figuring out, what tools, and will work on a business model canvas shortly.
All right. At least he's honest.
Yeah, I was like doing stuff. I was like, I definitely put this down somewhere. So to get better organized would be good. I guess the question which I didn't say, I thought I said it there, but, so I have this event stuff going on, and then I have this, Ray mentioned something else, which got me really, I got excited about it. I love that Hustle newsletter. I think the newsletter industry in general is pretty fascinating, with all the stuff going on there. So I, was tried to figure out if I should jump into that or not. So, I mean, what do you guys think that, or do you have examples? I think this is what I asked on Twitter, and I should ask you guys here too, but, are there any examples of like the Hustle, but a local, super local, and niche, is that a possible business? Is that too narrow? Like, indoor farming in New York City, is that newsletter, that can't be a business, could it be?
I imagine if it could be anywhere, it would be New York City.
Good point.
You're talking about a bunch of rich people who live in the most expensive city in the West that are interested in organic food that they pay extra for and take precious time out of their day for, or they send the help to do it. This is there's a definite willingness to pay. A casual Google search does not really turn up much in the way of communities. It turns up lots of stuff about urban farming and the fetishization of micro greenhouses and putting things on top of your building. The kinds of things you're talking about, like just connecting pavement with land, right? Pavement to soil, is an idea that I don't think is well explored. So if there's an identifiable set of people that have an economic incentive and a value alignment, that is the basis for a monetizable community.
Yeah, awesome.
So
and
that becomes the why.
Yeah, and what you mentioned there is like, so I kind of mentioned it in the video, but I made this survey just to at least get some information, because to me that's that's a lot of what we talked about today. Everybody's trying to find their people, and for me, I kind of, I know their names, I'm friends with them on Instagram, but I'm trying to create a list. So I went to go do this, but there were so many politicians out there, and I could not take the courage to, even though I would be asking them something hopefully a little easier, they're at the farmer's market, but there were so many politicians asking to sign petitions, that I just thought I can't do it. So, even though now a week later, I don't have that list, but hopefully, that's something that that I will work on, because that list then will help me. Ideally, they can help me figure it out as I grow as well.
I don't know if you already have like a type form or a paper form, but you should be making a nice tiny survey that is asking them a few interesting questions about how they do organic, about how they connect with farmers markets or what have you. You should be doing an email collect at the end, and you should post it on your Instagram, right? Put it on the feed that you already have. Get your people, to the extent you're already connecting them, to say, hey, this is important. And you're not doing sales, right? You're doing research.
Right.
Because this will then get you two things. The first is going to get you people who respond, and that's going to be useful data into itself. And second is the input to your next piece of content, right? The results of the survey. The New York, organic food hippy-dippy survey, whatever it turns out to be called, right? And people will buy into that.
Yeah.
I remember that, like, big consulting firms, one of the ways they go lead prospecting is by doing surveys.
And I imagine there must be something like Facebook group as well for this topic, especially in New York, because it has enough people. I'm sure if you look, I don't know if you have looked, I find there are Facebook groups for all kinds of topics, so probably for this as well.
Yes, Facebook groups are great for that stuff. Absolutely, guaranteed they're there. Like, you guys saw my post about me converting a bus. There's tens of thousands of members in Facebook groups, right? I reach 6,000 people every day when I share something there, guaranteed. And they want to talk about it, right? Like, that is your audience. And now I slipped my thought, but where else was that? I'll get it to you when it comes back.
Cool. Awesome feedback. Yeah, next week I'm going to try and make my presentation a little more like Ray's, because I liked organized feedback, or, organized updates, and then that question. Yeah, I think I did already start my business model canvas, so that should be, I don't know if you guys have done those or look at that, but the lean startup is a methodology that helps in my phase at least, figuring out who to talk to and what's needed and what makes me special.
Elliot.
Real quick, Martin, and then I'll let you take it. I'd encourage you, who cares if they've talked to 5, 10, 15 politicians, well, walk up to them and be like, ma'am, sir, I'm not a politician. I'll be 30 seconds of your time. I'm a startup founder, and here's your QR code. Like, if you want, lead with saying, look, I'm not a politician.
Right.
But yeah, because you'll never see those people again. And as a startup founder, you got to be willing to maybe, not only step outside your comfort zone, but I do understand that, look, it's like you don't want to come across the wrong way. You don't want to leave any sort of bad taste on you representing your startup. So I totally understand, the reason for hesitation. But it's like that stuff is worth crossing over the line to take the opportunity.
Yeah, you are right.
So Elliot, just listening to what you've been talking about, I've got Gary Vaynerchuk in my ear, and he would say that this is a perfect narrative that you can take to Instagram. He would say that your audience, you can communicate them through the DMs on Instagram. So do things that don't scale. Connect with them, ask them questions, get their feedback. And if you've got the connection with the farms, go document what goes on behind the scenes. Create some intrigue about things that people don't know. They don't see every day because they live in a big city. It gives them a new perspective that's on their doorstep. And judging from what Ray says, the kind of market who you would be inviting to come dine, make it really exclusive and make it really hard to get on the wait list to enjoy it. I think there's some potential there, but it starts small. So when you're talking to people at the market, I'd say try and get them on your Instagram. Try and get them to follow you on Instagram right there and then. And yeah, tell stories through it about this whole culture that you're bringing to them, and share things that like you probably know an awful lot that other people just don't know, which would be quite interesting, quite intriguing about the whole market, the whole industry, the behind the scenes, the great food, the company, the culture, the people who you can connect with. And I liked what Ray said about the what is it, like pavement to organic kind of thing. Like the two don't. I've been to New York once, and the two don't really align. Although my first impression walking out in the streets of New York, I know absolutely why you wouldn't want to walk up to people and ask them questions. I got a very interesting New York welcome, but no, it's all good. I think you can have a lot of fun with it. Lean into it. Give yourself permission to follow what you enjoy, and share that with these other people with that goal of building something. It doesn't have to be straight off, but leading to something that connects people with the farms.
The thing you can do at the farmers market that you can't just do online by Instagram is talk to people live. Go with your phone. Do video interviews. That will create content. You can use that in all sorts of circumstances. It justifies you're actually asking them a couple of questions, actually get information out of them. It is something that they might be more willing to share than their QR code or email address or what have you. I think otherwise it's going to be hard when you're just sort of, when they're just there to go buy their stuff, right? As opposed to have a conversation with you. It's going to be hard to be asking them to do something like share their email or what have you. But if what you have is, be doing video with them, and then you're asking them, if you give me your email address, I'll send you the video, yeah. Right? Now they have, now you're selling them the story about their most interesting subject in their whole world, which is themselves.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's a good one. That last one's a good one. And I mean, the content creation, everyone is talking about it for you now. I can see so much in that too. I mean, talk to the people who are buying produce, talk to the vendors who are bringing the produce go to the farms you already know, right? Like that content is gold, and people love food. People love following that stuff. I think I'm vegan personally myself. Like there's so many niches in food itself which you can exploit, and for each niche, these people like the vegans, right? We're looking, right, very actively usually, because especially for a farm, if it's a general service, I would love to know that you consider us, right? There is a filter on your website, or will be eventually, where I can click and see the farms I can go to, like make me, like Ray said, make me feel special, right? And you'll be a customer instantly. Fantastic. So this is great. We're running a little bit over again, but you guys are always so engaged, so I have a hard time cutting you off, but I'm trying to do it more subtly so I don't have to cut you off with a timer or something. Any feedback on that? Or do you guys mind if we run a little bit over? Because again, I think as long as the conversation is fruitful and you individually get something out of the feedback, I kind of feel bad about cutting it off, right? We don't want to keep the conversation artificially alive, but this has been fantastic from my seat where I'm sitting. I think hopefully you all got a lot of feedback from the others. How's everyone feeling about this?
I don't mind going over.
Yeah, I don't mind it too much, but maybe a timer would tighten us up a little bit.
Okay.
We do have the right amount of people where, a time, 10 minutes could be, if we were a little stricter, we could make it.
Right. Yep. Okay. We'll do that just to keep us in track. And then again, if we have more to say about it, like what I said in the beginning, right? And I said, okay, maybe we have more time in the end. We probably usually don't. So I don't want to cut it off, too early. So maybe we'll give ourselves, a minute wiggle room or so in the future, and then see how that goes. Fantastic. Any parting words from everyone? How are you feeling? Week 2, are you hyped?
Yeah, and hyped to now try out at least 2 of the projects, from the group. So,
Hey Sven, real quick, do you just create an account for Endeavor? Did I see when you shared?
I'm in the middle of it. Yeah, while you were talking, I started.
The screen that I happened to see, that I hope that wasn't the screen I thought I saw. It looks like it didn't actually even bring you into the platform, did it?
I tried to log in and then I couldn't. I signed up, but I couldn't log in.
So did it leave you at where it said you're already logged in? Your account, log out your account.
It kept me to the login screen.
Try logging in with your credentials.
Uh-oh, we're troubleshooting now.
Yeah.
So,
I saw the screen slip by, Sven. I was like, I have to say something.
Yeah, I think this is good, right? So error tracking and bug testing. Like you'll get my report if something doesn't work. Actually, I can give you one right now. I put a password in over 30 characters and it bitched at me. I don't know why limited at 30. Artificial, seems to me. Very small, minute detail. Not your highest priority to fix that.
Right. So I'm trying to understand. So you submitted the registration credentials, registration details, and then it brought you to the login page.
Yep.
It's not letting you log in at all.
I love you guys, but I'm gonna sign off.
Yeah, we'll take that offline. Thanks, Ray. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.